Hello there, morning all. Georgia Tolley here, back in the hot seat on the agenda. Lovely to have been listening to Katie for the last 3 days. While I'm out and about doing my reporting for the Business Breakfast, I often have to drive places. And I haven't decided whether it's weird and creepy to listen to Katie when she's presenting or constructive. I haven't quite decided yet. At the moment, we're going for weird and creepy, especially when I send messages in. It's really interesting. And and one of the great things about reporting for the Business Breakfast is you do get to go to different areas and sort of explore different things. Although, my goodness me, the Ramadan traffic is an education. I know it's only day 2 and we're all sort of gradually getting used to the change of pace and the different hours. But I can't work out where the traffic's going to be nowadays. I can't work out how to dodge it. So if anyone's got any hints or tips on that, please do get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. 4001. Or, of course, you can WhatsApp me 04871 5500. When the children were young, I didn't like Ramadan because it meant that they were home from school early and it was all quite hard work when they were younger. Now I absolutely love it. It just feels like a break, doesn't it? It just feels like a really sort of calm period of the year. Even if you're, not Muslim, which I'm not. You do get to enjoy a sort of slower pace of life. I love the later school starts. I enjoy spending more time with the children now they're older. When, of course, the sort of juggle with work allows, because I'm not doing Ramadan hours. I don't deserve Ramadan hours, to be honest. I'm not fasting. I'm not getting up early in the morning or staying up late at night. But it is tricky with the children finishing school early. And that is where my nanny really comes into her own. She's been with us for 11 years. I literally wouldn't be able to get my work done if I didn't have help at home during this period. But, it's got us thinking, what about the hours of home help? Should they be working the same hours during Ramadan? Or do they also need to have a little bit of a break? Let's find out. I'm interested to know what the law is. I'm interested to know what sort of habits are. So again, get in touch on that one. I'd love to get your views on it. Should nannies be working the same hours during Ramadan? I'm joined now by Marilena Hadgianni. She's the founder of Yaya Middle East. They're a company that helps families hire verified nannies and home help in the UAE. She's joined me in the studio. Morning, how are you?
Good morning, Georgia. Thank you very much. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good to have you with us. I'm interested to know, what the law says about this. During Ramadan, do the same reduced working hours, the rules around those, apply to domestic workers as they do in the wider private sector?
Yeah, so the UAE law actually stipulates that the reduction of the working hours are for the private sector employees. Domestic helpers are actually governed under a separate law, and that law doesn't necessarily mandate the reduced 2 hours as it does for the private sector. So for domestic helpers, essentially, there's no automatic reduction in hours.
Okay. Are there any other key regulations that families should be aware of when it comes to sort of rest breaks or overtime during Ramadan, but frankly, probably the rest of the year as well?
Yes, and that same law that applies to domestic helpers actually has very strict laws about rest times for domestic helpers in the UAE as well. So they are entitled to 12 hours of rest per day, a proper overnight sleep, so that's 8 consecutive hours, and they're also entitled to 1 paid day off every single week. Now, that's the law, that's the standard. That doesn't necessarily change for Ramadan, so it's exactly the same all year round.
That doesn't feel very fair. I'm going to be really honest. Like, if you are fasting and, you're working hard in the house, it feels like employers should give you a bit of leeway. They should be required in some way to adjust the schedule.
Yeah, so the law is one thing,
Yeah.
and then obviously there's that human element.
Yeah.
And that's what we always speak about at Yaya as well, because we get a lot of these inquiries every year at this time of year as well. So it's very important to have that open communication with your domestic helper. If they are fasting, the right thing to do is to allow them more flexibility. So to let them have proper rest, to let them to be more flexible with their schedules, we all know that, they're breaking their fast around 6 p.m. So that's a very, very busy time. For anybody with children knows that that's kind of the busiest time of the day. And that will also be the time that your nanny will be breaking her fast as well. So making sure that she has the right space to break her fast, maybe reducing some of her duties during Ramadan to allow her to also be able to, practice Ramadan.
Yeah, I mean, my nanny is not fasting. She's not Muslim, but it was interesting. We had to have the conversation about the changing hours as well, because obviously my hours are staying the same. My children's hours are changing, and we had to have that sort of. It was a slightly tricky conversation, to be honest, because I'm always trying to do it at the last minute, but we did manage to figure it out together. I mean, would you recommend having a formal conversation in this context? I think some people find it really difficult to chat to people who are living in their homes about sort of awkward questions around money and hours and timing, because these ladies see everything, right, in your home. They know you better.
Yeah, they do.
I think my nanny knows me better than my husband does, to be honest.
Yeah, so absolutely have that conversation, and it doesn't need to be formal either. It can just be a very casual conversation. I think the most important thing is transparency.
Yeah.
So making sure that they're aware as to what your expectations are, but also just having a conversation about asking them whether they're fasting or not, and then knowing that things might be a little bit different for them. But then also they need to know if your family is fasting. So if you're fasting, then they're going to have to naturally probably have to work longer hours. There's a lot of events, there's gatherings, and that kind of thing. So having that transparent conversation and managing expectations from the outset is really important as well.
How about the whole live in, live out sort of question? I suppose people who are live out, there's more need to have a conversation, isn't there? Because they might not want to come in first thing in the morning, for example.
Yeah, so the live-in, it's particularly more challenging for live-in helpers during this time of year, and that's purely because they live inside the household. So for families that are fasting, their days will naturally extend longer. So it's more challenging for them because we start to have blurred lines between when does the day start and when does the day end, and when do they get that sort of required rest time. For live out helpers, it's a little bit less complicated because they have quite a set start time and end time.
For someone who works in the industry, I'm interested to know: do you think nannies are treated well in this country?
I think that it's very important that I think nannies. We are so lucky to have access to these amazing nannies and these people that really become part of our families. And I think that it's really important to treat them the way that you would want to be treated. So I do think that people are having a lot better relationships with their nannies now than they used to in the past.
Do you see a bit of an uptick from your business perspective during Ramadan, because maybe people realise that they're overworking their nannies and they need to get in some extra help? Is that something that you noticed during the season?
Yes. So Yaya, actually, we are focused on finding long-term helpers, not necessarily short-term helpers. So because we're focused on long-term, then yes, we see an increase in inquiries, but we are working with long-term helpers. Having said that, we do see an increase in people asking about, how long their nanny should be working, or how can they get additional help, or is it legal to hire part-time helpers, and that kind of thing. So sort of the conversation shifts a little bit.
Is it legal to hire part-time helpers along those lines? Because we chat about it in our compound all the time. We'll say, look, we're going away for a couple of weeks. Our nanny's open for a couple of hours more work a day. She's we're not going to be around. She just needs to walk the dog. I think that's illegal, isn't it?
So it is. If you're going to hire a nanny in the UAE, they need to be under either your sponsorship or under a government sponsorship.
Yeah.
So hiring part-time help. We always recommend to families that they should go through an agency, for example. That's what agencies are there for.
Really interesting conversation. Marilena, thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure it's going to raise a huge amount of conversation around the role and the hours of nannies. Certainly whenever I see it on any of the maybe female-focused Facebook groups, for example. Some of the questions people ask on there are absolutely extraordinary. And to your explanation there, if you don't want to be treated, if you wouldn't want to be treated that way, then what on earth are you doing it to the lady who's looking after your children? It's staggering. Marilena Hadgianni, founder of Yaya Middle East. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, any comments, get in touch, 4001.
More of The Agenda is coming up next
on the UAE's #1 talk radio station.